Hello everybody, on this Wednesday morn. I wanted to come on here and give you a little unsolicited advice. Who doesn't love unsolicited advice? A little birdie told me that there's a test coming up, and I'd love to give you some unsolicited advice for that test. Because I think test day is like a really daunting thing. And I think especially the first time you ever take a practical, that's a really scary thing. So the first thing I want to talk about is the practical. So practical exam, what should you do? What would I suggest? This is take it or leave it advice. So practical day. The practical is my favorite exam. I love it. I love tagging them. I love designing them. I love the atmosphere. I love everything about it. I didn't at first. So one of the things that I always tell students when they're in my office, and they're saying they're having anxiety about this practical because they've never had an exam like this. They want to know what it's going to be like. And the truth is, we can tell you what it's going to be like, but you're never really going to understand it until you get there. That's just the truth. It is a different environment. It's arguably an uncomfortable one, just because it's you in a silent room with all your classmates, and there's a bell going off every 60 seconds to tell you to move. So the first thing that I tell people to do is start lying to your brain. Your brain is a powerful thing. And if you are telling yourself that you're scared and this is horrible and you're gonna fail, you're not gonna do your best if you've been telling yourself all morning that you're not gonna do your best. If you, however, can change that mantra, and this is why I say lie to yourself, because when I was first in school, I didn't think I was gonna do well, but I started just telling myself, I'm freaking amazing, and I'm gonna blast this test out of the park, and it's gonna be awesome when I do that, and I'm gonna be the best in the class, and I'm gonna get the 100% on this test, which is bullshit. I was not really gonna do those things. I don't think I'd put in the work to do those things, to be honest, at the start. However, I did do better. I'm not kidding. I went from not so hot to hot shit in that class. And I ended up graduating at the top of my class because of the lies I was telling myself. And also the studying I was doing. But we're going to talk about that. So first things first is your mindset matters. And you got to change it if you're in a negative space. You got to just start lying to yourself. The other thing I told myself that was a lie initially and became true was this is a game. Because I love games. I've played soccer my entire life. I've always been pretty competitive because I think it's fun. And so I was like, you know what? I love games. Let's make this a game. This is a new game. The game is not in competition with my classmates, because that would stress me out. But the game is for me, and I am a part of this one-person game. And I go into the lab, and I say to myself, okay, here's the game. Every 60 seconds, I'm going to figure out what this thing is. And I'm going to do it as fast as I can and as accurately as I can. I'm going to see how many I can get right. That's the mindset. Yes, I just described the test, but did you hear the intonation and the excitement? Because this is exciting. This is a fun game. And I would lie to myself and I would tell myself it was fun. And God damn it, it became fun. So first things first is check in with yourself. What is your mindset? If it's positive, you're good. Keep it up. Keep that blind confidence running. Excellent job. You pass. If it's negative and you're freaking out, we gotta get here. So you're gonna have to lie. You're going to have to lie to your brain, and you're going to have to tell it only positive things. I'm not kidding. People are going to see this advice and be like, that's not important. Get to the next thing. And I'm saying this is probably the most important thing. Besides the studying you did beforehand, this is super important. If you're not in the right headspace to take that test in the first place, you are setting yourself up for a not good day. So number one, what is your mindset? either fix it or keep on gliding. Okay, so that was kind of number 0, I would say. Number 1. Let's talk about the very real day of practical stuff. Don't come early and study all of your material. You know what you know, you're done. You need to relax. You need to go for a walk. You need to talk to your friends. You need to call your parents. You need to do something to get your mind off of the test before you take the test. The stuff that you cram at the end, some people this is going to be useful. If you haven't studied at all, cram at the end. Right before, because that short-term memory will be with you while you're in there. If, however, you have done the work and you are ready to take the test but you are just nervous, stop. Don't cram. You've got this, and anything you cram in is going to go into your short term and you're going to lose some of your long term. And that's not scientifically proven. That's just what I've seen happen to students. Okay, so we're ready. We're into our test. We're about to take it. We're going to start. We're in a positive mindset. We're ready to go. We haven't crammed. We're not cramming. We're not studying. Right before, we're just relaxing. We're zen. We're listening to music. Whatever we're doing. Then we get in there. And we get to our first station. First question, first station. So I'm just going to kind of depict this because I don't have a cadaver at home. Who'd have thought? Here's my first station, okay? So station number 1, there's a tag somewhere. What am I going to do? Well, the first thing I'm going to do is orient. So number 1, orient. And this is orient I'm going to call easy. Here's why it's easy. When I say orient easy, I mean the first thing you do in the first seconds that you're there. Because we only have 60, right? Which is plenty for the record. It's too much for the record. If you do this in succession every single station that you go to for the however many questions there are. You do this stuff step by step by step by step. It's your mantra and you move on. 60 seconds will be way too much. The only ones you will wait on are the ones you absolutely do not know at all. So, orient easy means I walk up to the body, I look at the body, and I look for simple things. Face. Can I see a nose? Or do I see the back of the head? Can I see the belly button? Or the genitals, more like, because if you've skinned the thorax, that won't be there. But if you haven't, look for it. My God, look for the belly button, abs, stomach, whatever it is. Look for genitals. Face, toes pointing up into the air. This is all anterior surface stuff. Look for it. Look for something simple. Can I see the face? Can I see the butt? If I can see the butt, you're looking at the back, not the front. Unless there's a front butt, and I've never seen that. If you see that, send me a picture. That would be the coolest anatomical variation I've ever seen. Flat back, nothing going on. That's back. The first thing you're doing is seeing, am I on the front surface? Am I on the back surface? That's step 1. It is so important. You would be amazed by how many students I have had in the past. The reason they got something wrong is because they didn't do that first orientation and they thought they were on the back when they were really on the front, or vice versa. All right, so step 1, orient easy. Step 2, you guys are going to hate this, orient more. What do I mean by that? I mean, we walked up to a station. We saw that we were on, let's say, the anterior surface. And this is not going to be a good picture because I'm trying to draw it very fast. All right, we walked up to a station. The person looked like this. See pecs. Look how strong this person is. Look at that 6-pack. I'm just kidding. All right, so I could see that this was the anterior surface because I went, okay, that's the face. I can see the genitals. Even if they're covered up, like you know where the genitals should be, right? Even if they got a cloth over them, even if it's got a cloth over it, for now, you will remove those later, I can still tell that this is the anterior surface. I don't see a butt. It wouldn't be covered, by the way. The butt is usually exposed because you've dissected the glutes. This is what I see. And what I mean by orient more is now that I know which surface I'm on, then I zoom in. Essentially. So let's say the tag is here. So I go, okay, this is anterior surface. The tag is here. And I would say, okay, that's chest, abdomen, shoulder, arm, forearm. Cool. Now, because I put it on a limb, which I did on purpose, you have an extra step. Yeah, the first 3 steps are orientation, and I'm belaboring that on purpose. So it's in a limb, and I'm going to shove this up for a second. So I'm going to walk up to this body at this station. I'm going to orient, be like, this is anterior surface. I'm going to orient and be like, it's in the forearm. Then I go, all right, how is it in the forearm? Which side of the forearm? Well, your donors are not necessarily in anatomical position. Anatomical position, palms facing forwards, the underbelly of my forearm facing forwards. I'm in a supinated position, essentially. Shoulders are relaxed, head and neck, eyes forward, toes pointing forward, erect, standing, okay? This is anatomical position. Thumbs are out laterally. Now in the lab, you've probably noticed your cadavers, your donors, they're not always in anatomical position. Sometimes they're laying like this. They're face down and their arms all twisted behind them. And so your surfaces are all off. So what I want you to do is find the tag and then on your own body, go, the tag is here, and then flip it into anatomical position. If you do this, if you find it here and flip into anatomical position, now I know for certain which surface I am talking about. Because this is the anterior surface, this is the posterior surface where the tag is. So even though it's facing like this in anatomical position, that would have been anterior if it was in anatomical position. That's the thumb. It's flipped like this. That's posterior forearm. It's just facing up. So that's why you put your limb in their position every time, point to the tag, flip it back into anatomical position. So you actually know where you are. Now that you know where you are, for certain, I have figured out that I am in the extensor surface, aka the posterior forearm. Extensor surface, posterior forearm, this is where I am. Nothing else matters. Now I'm zooming in and I am figuring out what I am looking at. So I read the tag. Now this took me longer to talk about this stuff. It didn't take me seconds to explain all that. However, when you orient, it should take you about 10 seconds or less. Especially when you're in lab, if you practice identifying things this way. If you practice this method when you're actually dissecting and identifying things with your friends, you will be much better at it when you get to practical day. 10 seconds or less, we've gotten to, it is in the extensor posterior forearm. I say extensor because I call that my extensor surface since most of the muscles in that area are all extensors. Starts with extensor. Gives me something to work with if a muscle is tagged, which is our next step. Our next step is to read the tag and identify type of structure. You don't have to do those two in order necessarily, but you do have to do both of them. Here's why. Sometimes when you read the tag, it tells you what kind of structure it is. It will say something like, identify this nerve, and then no one reads it and says, pudendal artery. Not in this area, that's a different example. It's something, an actual experience that happened to me. So sometimes when you read the tag, it actually tells you what kind of structure it is. So if you read this and it says identify the nerve, and you write down the name of a muscle, that's because you didn't read the tag. And more likely you write down the name of an artery instead of a nerve. Some people give you half credit for that, but a lot of people won't because they're like, no, it said nerve on the tag. If you just read the tag, you would have got it. So read the tag because it might skip this step for you. If the tag just says identify, or something along those lines, then yeah, your next step is going to be to figure out what type of structure it is. Not what it is, not the name, but what is it? Is it a muscle? Is it a nerve? Is it an artery? Is it something else? Vein, ligament, bone, whatever. And how you're going to do this so you don't go to that place where you start freaking out because you're not sure is you're going to prove it to yourself. So I don't want you to just go, this is an artery. Moving on, I'm going to start naming it. I want you to go, this is an artery because prove it. Prove that's an artery. Prove it to yourself. You're not proving it to me. You're proving it to yourself. Because you're the one that doesn't believe you know what you know. So you're the one you have to convince. Because you're the one that's going to sit there when you're done and look at your answers and go, I don't know if that was right. And freak out if you haven't done this work. So let's do this work. So we go, okay, I think this is an artery because, and then I list some reasons. 2, 3 reasons, really only 2 reasons are necessary. 2 reasons. I think this is an artery because It's very curly, so it's squiggly. And not just one reason, 2 reasons. 3 reasons is best. It's squiggly. I can, if you're allowed to touch, I can press it between my fingers and roll the 2 walls together. I can feel there's space in there, and when I let go, it pops back. That's very artery like that. Thicker walls than veins. I think it's an artery because I saw it branch at a right angle and even a 160-degree angle, a wide, obtuse angle, random angles all over the place. And I can trace it back to a larger artery. That would be another one. I traced this thing that's tagged back to a larger thing that it came off of and realized that that is a very big, very cylindrical structure that is an artery. What if it's a nerve? If it's a nerve, I know this is a nerve because it is very straight. When I try to squish it between my fingers, it feels like a cord, like a power cord for a cell phone. When I follow it out and it branches, it only branches in these small little acute angles, these little V's, and it goes very straight towards the thing it's going to. That's a nerve. I think this is a muscle because I can see muscle fibers. I can see it attaches to a tendon, the tendinous portion of it. I know this is this muscle because. So we're getting there by proving to ourselves what type of structure we are looking at. Once we know what type of structure we are looking at, then we can identify it. Because what we've just done, and this doesn't take that long, this is about 10 seconds, then this and this, depending on who you are, maybe, I'm going to overestimate. I think reading the tag will take you 5 to 10 seconds. I think if it gives you the type of structure, that's the amount of time it took. And if you have to identify the type of structure and give your reasons why, that's going to take you about 10 to 15 seconds, okay? And that's an over-exaggeration, so 10 to 15. So you have, now that you've done this work, the rest of the time is identification, right? So that's, let's say, I'm going to overestimate. So this is 25 seconds gone, which means you have 35 left. And that's a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's actually a ton of time. Because you've done all this work, you already know what kind of structure it is. You already know where you are. You have narrowed down what it could be. Because now that you've sectioned it off, if you studied in a way where you sectioned off shoulder, arm, forearm, hand, forgot a digit, shoulder, arm, forearm, hand, you did front and you did back, and we know we're on the back, so let's pretend this is the back. This is my posterior forearm, and I studied in a way that I know these muscles are all extensors, and they're named for where they go. So I can say, okay, it's an extensor, and I follow it out, and it's going to my index finger. And I go, okay, well, that's extensor indices, because the Latin word for index finger is indices. And what you're going to do is, now that we've given 3 reasons why it's a muscle, now you're going to tell me 3 reasons why it is what it is. That's what you're going to tell yourself, not me. But you can pretend I'm there. 3 reasons why it is what it is. Prove it to yourself why you know what that thing is. It's on the posterior surface. It's a muscle. It goes to the pinky. Extensor digiti minimi. I know it is extensor digiti minimi because I can see the tendon going to the digit, and I can see a separate extensor digitorum. That's enough. Because your other reason is that you know it's on the posterior forearm because you checked. So you've come up with 3 reasons. You put that down. Extensor digiti minimi. That's not the most common muscle, but I'm just going to use it as an example. You write that in your answer choice, and you probably have 20 seconds left over, and you're just standing there like this. And what I want you to do, and what I want you to make a promise to me to do, you're making a promise right now, is that you're going to not change your answers. And that terrifies people. And I understand why. It's because you start to second guess yourself. But I want you to remember all the work you did to get there. And then not go, I did all that work, but I'm going to guess a random other thing. Because I'm not confident in myself. What I want you to do is, I did the work. Sorry for swearing. I did the freaking work. I know what this is, and I'm not changing my answer unless And I'll give you an unless I can prove that I am wrong 100% with 3 reasons. See, it works so many different ways. 3 reasons why it is what it is. 3 reasons why it is the type of thing that it is. And 3 reasons if you're going to change your answer. They have to be real. And if you do that at every single station, not the last thing I talked about, don't question every single answer you have. But if you do this proving, if you do this orienting, and I'm going to emphasize it one last time, orienting is so freaking important. If you don't know where you are, you don't know anything. You can't accurately identify something because you're on the wrong surface, or you're in the wrong area, or you're looking at an artery when you thought it was a vein. So this is a great method. Point being, try this method. But remember, even if it's a fake one, here's our big takeaways. Maintain a positive attitude, however you need to do it. Really, it's going to be essential to you. If you can't stay in a positive headspace, your brain's going to be suffering because you're going to be anxious. You're going to be like, oh, I'm so bad at this. But you're not bad at it. You're good at this. You're wonderful at this. You're the best freaking med student there's ever been. That's the kind of stuff I want you to tell yourself. And I want you to get a big head just for test day. And then you're going to orient. You're going to orient. You're going to orient again, especially with limbs. Limbs are weird. They're twisted, messed up. So you got to put yourself in their shoes physically. Don't get on the table. Just look and mimic. Then we're going to read. Read the tag. Read the tag. What does it say? Maybe it told us what it was. Or the type of structure that it is, I should say. Then we're going to identify the type of structure. We're going to do this by proving what type of structure it is by using characteristics of those structures. What do I see? What does it look like? Describe it to yourself. Then, finally, we know where we are. We know what type of structure it is. Now we are identifying it and we are proving it to ourselves with 3 reasons why it is the thing we think it is. And then we are moving the F on to the next question. This is dead. Next question. I hope that helps. Got a little passionate there. Good luck on your practical. You're going to do great. As always, thanks for watching. I hope this helped you feel better about your practical exam. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.